Hi, this is James Gardner, the Cinetech Geek, and today we're going to talk about the current saviour, which is Super Mario Brothers. And it's been an amazing film. It's doing a lot better than anyone could ever expect. And today we're going to see if we could have predicted that. And I'm going to show you how that I've got, I've done some videos in the past about Google Trends. But I'm going to show you today how it did predict that. Actually, I thought it was a little bit of an anomaly, but we're going to have a look at how I went through and came to the conclusion that it was going to be a very successful film. So you could potentially use this technique to help predict or decide which films that you want to actually put more behind in your promotion going forward. Because with films becoming more short, they've got a shorter shelf life to a degree in this new era after streaming. It's become far more important to bet on the right horses, because if you don't, you can really pay the price. So let's have a look at this, and I'll quickly show you how one of the ways I went around predicting that Super Mario's was the right film to book. So have a look here. So here we are, Google Trends. I've shown you that before. This is the main website, but just quickly looking at these are the trends having it the last 30 days. So worldwide, the past 3 days, and doing a YouTube search for Super Mario Brothers. But make sure you find the search which has got the film type underneath it. So we know we're basically looking for anyone who's basically clicking on Super Mario Brothers trailers or content to do with Super Mario Brothers. Now to put this in context, we actually want to have a look at what films are showing around this. So this is one of the cinema portal, and we can basically have a look at what films are coming out and when. We had John Wick, Dungeons and Dragons. Here's actually Super Mario Brothers here because it actually started a day before the normal release date, so it's just squeezed in there. But after that, we've got some other films coming out, which I've noted is like Guardians of the Galaxy, and a few weeks later is Fast X. Right, so those are, there's Little Mermaid there too, but those are the next films coming out. So having an idea of which of those films are going to do the best, we're going to have a look at that today. So let's have a quick look at that straight away. And so I've put in those films up here. We've got Super Mario Brothers, of course, Guardians, Fast X, John Wick, because it was just before Super Mario's, and Spider-Man, another film coming up soon after. So we can see here, as you can see, films when they come out. Obviously, John Wick came out about here, and it had quite a big pull up here. And you can see here the blue one is up to the release of Super Mario's. It really had a bunch here, probably when it had a bit of a marketing push. But the thing that we really need to notice the most when we do look at this data is the long-term sort of where the promotion sits on a day-to-day basis. What's the general interest in this film before the promotion hits? Or outside the promotion zones. And you can really see here how Super Mario has consistently been a lot higher than all the other films we've got in here, apart from Wick. But Wick's basically in the middle of its run here, where it's mostly promoted, but it's done extraordinarily well in terms of being a lot better, like 2 to 3 times better in some of these than of these other films. So let's have a quick look before all this happened. And still, if we look at the end here, Super Mario Brothers, this is basically coming from here. So I'm going back into the past to see how far back we can see where this prediction is being relatively correct. If we go back into the past here, we can actually still see here that Super Mario Brothers, even back here, is still far outweighing most of the other films. Wick is getting some pull up because it's a closer film, but it's definitely twice as popular in terms of generic interest by people on YouTube than some other big films coming up, Guardians of the Galaxy and Fast X. So that's a very good sign, and to a degree, when I first saw this data, I actually thought that the popularity of Super Mario might have been a little bit of an anomaly, because a kids film like that usually doesn't have that much traction, because there's so much data in the past that might have been mixing up into the searches. But doesn't seem to be the case. It was very much correct in terms of the traction. And it's also very interesting that it's telling us that technically we should see double the traction that we're seeing on these other big films coming out, which is, I hope not totally the case, but that's giving us a good indication of what's going to happen. So if we look at that now, and we just then go back to the two films which are coming up, which is of the most interest, which is Fast X and Guardians of the Galaxy. Now you can see here, Guardians is getting a bit of a push because it's close to release and there's probably been some marketing. But in general, Fast X looks like, if you look at the long term, Fast X is generally getting a better or slightly higher than, see here, it's got a long term interest rate. So at this stage, with what's going on, at this stage, I just basically say that Fast X is probably more likely to have a bigger gross in the market than Guardians of the Galaxy. Now that's a little bit unfortunate. Unfortunately, the superhero films are tending to suppress a lot in this new era. I'm not sure why. Maybe people are becoming more satisfied to wait for the streaming versions of the films. Just generally, I've been studying the superhero films, and since Thor, every superhero film since has made less money at the box office, MCU or DC, just bang, 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 which is a very bad trend, and hopefully Guardians of the Galaxy will break that trend and come out quite large. But at this stage, it's looking like there is some sort of suppression in the superhero genre, and it's they'll still make money, but just not as much by the looks of it. So that's some interesting data to look at. This is only an indication. So I just wanted to show quickly how I used the data and how it did predict that Super Mario was going to be very successful, and how it is happening to help predict what is likely to happen with other big films as they're coming out relative to each other. Because the big problem with Google Trends is it's a very relative. They don't give you an absolute value. It's all relative to the highest thing the most popular thing that you put in your sample. So getting an indication of how popular a film is going to be, you really want to put in something that you know how popular it's turned out to be. And then sort of look at it relative to the other films which are coming to give you an idea of the likelihood of the popularity or the traction that they have going into the opening of those films. So yeah, there you go. Google Trends very much did predict that Mario Brothers was going to be and is extremely successful, more than we ever expected, and Google Trends did indicate that, although it was hard to believe at the time. But now, it's done amazingly well, and hopefully we'll get some more films like this coming up, especially over the holidays coming up soon, where there is quite a few big films coming out, and hopefully we'll get a few of them catching on fire as well. Anyway, that's bye for now from James Gardner, the Cine Tech Geek.